Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's academic session workshop. The topic that we will be doing today is report writing, which is something very common and known to all of us. So I just share, then I will interact with you, and then we will proceed. I think it is visible to all. Is the
Yes,
screen?
ma'am. It's visible, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Okay, so you know that report is something very common, very much known, but it is of course one of the most important writing skill that we find in business communication. So among all of the different types of document we do write, two are of utmost importance. The first is that of the proposal and the second is that of the report. When we talk about proposal, we propose something, so that is yet to happen. But when we talk about report, we talk in past tense because something that has already happened, we report that. Now, what is this report all about? Now, say for example, you go somewhere, experience something, you see something, you come back and share it with your friend. You tell some near and dear one of yours. So what you exactly do is you go to him or her and you say, you know what happened, this thing happened, it was happening like this. If some session is there, you describe it. If any program is there, you talk about it. If there's any seminar or workshop, you talk about your experience. So all those things. If an accident has happened, you visit there, you see by the way, so you come and say, you know, mom, what happened, this thing has happened. So report is something which happens, we require to do that both verbally and non-verbally. When we do it verbally, it is in written mode, non-verbal manner. Then of course, usually it is for business purposes. So for business purposes, we must be following certain norms in which we should be doing the thing. So the norms are many. There are some specific format. There are different styles of report writing. And before we get into that, the first thing that we need to think of is the fact that why do we at all require to write a report? Now, before I get into it, I would like to ask those who are here, my students, just can you tell me what do you mean by report, your definition of report? I don't want any technical one. I don't want any bookish definition, but what you feel like as report is, because you must have come across this word in your school days, in your college days, and you require it every now and then. There's a newspaper report, you report something, there's a report card, isn't it? So we are used to reports. So what is that? You can raise your hand and you can tell me. Just share. It's nothing like that. We will just fix up what to talk about on these ideas, basically.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yeah, good afternoon, please.
Ma'am, I'm Nihal, and according to me, whenever anyone reads any report, then he just assumes that whatever he is reading, it is very much authentic. It is very much it is very much unbiased, and it is very much accurate. So by the word report, it means that some information which is very accurate and which is very authentic, and through the reading of that article or through the reading of that report, we can assume that we are reading about something accurate. So we are reading about something which has already happened, and the information that we are reading is very much accurate, and the report provides the authenticity of the already happened event. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, very well spoken. So the thing is, you have multiple times used a word that is authenticated document, right? Or authenticated news or report of the event that has happened. Fine, that's very, very important. This particular word, we will be reiterating again and again as we will be going through. Yeah, I can see a raised hand from Shivani. Very much welcome, Bata. Please go ahead.
Ma'am, I wanted to say that I agree to what Nihal said, but I would like to add a point that reports are of various types. Like, for example, when there's an accident that has happened, the FIR that you give in the police station is called a first information report.
Yes, very good.
It is very different from the one that we see in the newspaper. Similarly, the reports that we see in the magazine is different in like various kinds. So just like when you report an particular event, it can either be like the form of an accident or it can be like an event has taken place, it's a happy joyous event and you're reporting that. So the reports are, I believe, are of various types, and similarly when you're writing each report, it requires a different tone, a different diction, and we should know who we are writing for, and that will help us enhance our report.
Yes, very true. One new feather added to whatever he's shared. He was also sharing very pertinent things. He also shared very good. And the best thing of both of you is both of you talked about something, you know, technical. Very typical jargon that is related to report is that of authenticity, I must say. And what you said is, yes, FIR, a very, very technical document, which leads to so many legal steps that are awaiting ahead. So it is not only this FIR I talked about, you know, this medical report. These days, we are going and testing for corona, positive, negative. So what is that? Medical report. So medical report, you see police report, you find a report card, we see a newspaper report, we see so many varieties of report. We go and submit annual report, you know, budget report, so many things. So report is a document, you know, of utmost importance, and it gives accurate, you know, details of nitty-gritties of a particular aspect. And to know that, we depend on report. So as he said, it is absolutely true. If it is not 100 equal to 100, then there can be miscommunication. And we must keep in mind that this miscommunication might be detrimental to the people who are using the report, or maybe it might lead to some misconception about the happening. So a truth might get twisted. So some justice might be denied. Fine, a proper medical, you know, intervention might be stopped. So all these things we can see, these are only few I talked about. As we'll be going ahead, we will see that there are so many of its kind. So this is what report is, very, very technical writing. We can use graphs, charts, pie charts, we can use pictures at times, we can use data, statistics, and then we can, you know, explain the same. While we can explain and in between put them, we can put them at end. So there are multiple ways in which we can write report. But the first thing, before I get into the introduction part, you know, I must be saying that there's a basic diction, you know, in which we do this report writing. So as I said that when we talk about report writing, it is always about an event that has happened in the past. So while writing, we use a language, and that language is English here, as we are all using it as the medium. So naturally, we should be writing it in past tense. And not only that, one more thing, that we write it in a manner that who did the work is not important, but what had happened is more important. So we use usually passive voice. So I hope you all know the difference between an active and a passive voice. Any examples can anyone put among you? I will of course reiterate with my own examples, but if you have any idea of what this voice is all about?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, active voice is mostly when the object is directly doing the work. Like, for example, if I'm saying that I took the classes, it's an active voice. But if I'm saying that the classes were taken by me, it's a passive voice.
Absolutely.
So it's a difference between the placement of the object.
Yes. But what is the purpose? We are all language and literature students, and there are other people also who are using this language very technically for their business communication purpose. So why this difference when the meaning remains unchanged, and we also, you know, use it? Then why do we exactly use it? The purpose is, see, here the subject gets changed. No, when I'm saying the postman opened the gate, so the subject is the postman. When I'm saying the gate was opened by the postman, so now gate, the object, becomes the subject here. So with the subject, what we have learned in a sentence structure, there centers the main purpose of communication, the main reason or the particular one for whom the entire sentence is spoken. That makes it a subject, right? So here the doer is important, while in passive, the work done is important. What was opened by the postman? The gate was opened by the postman. So now here, the maximum emphasis is put on the gate. But in the earlier sentence, the emphasis was on the postman. Am I clear? So here, as I said, in case of report as well as, of course, proposal, as I started at the beginning, there also we do the same. It is always in passive voice. There we use future tense, here we use past tense. So these are, technical tools. They're not very difficult things to learn, but we should be alert while we do write reports, and should keep these forms of language that we should follow in our mind. Fine. So now to introduce, we have to see that why this report writing is useful at all. So first is the documentation purpose. As I said, a document is made where every record is there. So when you write a report, you have to be authentic. So an authentic report only will be able to pass on the information rightfully. Otherwise, people will have misconception about the same. So with the help of reports, not only that, we also can recognize works very easily. Say, for example, this is a big university, right? There are so many colleges and so many events happening in all the departments, in all the different colleges. So it is not possible to be in every event. Maybe the major events is presided by our VC ma'am, but not in all of them. So naturally, a pertinent report from the different institutions which reach her, from that she gets to know what exactly has happened. Or maybe she had been there in the inaugural session, but then after that, it's very obvious that it is not possible for the head to be there everywhere. So this is the purpose, it helps us to recognize what done, and it helps us to know a problem. If there's a problem, so the superior sends the subordinate to visit there, find out the problem, analyze it, critically see that what are the issues there and how that problem can be solved. So for solution of the problem has to be understood first. So naturally, that report works as a pertinent document, which works as a tool, to get to know what exactly has happened. So report writing also helps such the different heads of the different organizations. Maybe it can be an industry, it can be an institution, it can be in banking sector, it can be anywhere under the sun of any type of organization or institution where this report plays a vital role. So we, working on behalf of any organization, will at any point of time require to write a report. Not only that, we should also learn how to report pertinently and right. So the importance of report writing, it helps to communicate. Not only it helps only to communicate, but it helps other people to understand the work, get to know what is being done, and follow up with it, see that what the feedback is, and then go ahead with something. So what will be the document on the basis of which you can do that? So that is actually report writing that plays it in a very proper manner. So that is why you can see that it is helpful for making record of documentation. It plays a vital role in schools and colleges, and it helps in different industry, business, and other organizations, So it actually helps us talk about that what are the other things in which it can help. So if it is written in a good manner, with a rightful communication, then there are different reports. As at the beginning, as I said, that there can be verbal reports and written reports. So verbal is something which if you are effectively doing, then that is going to benefit people. But when you are going to write it, it turns into a document. So when it turns into a document, then you can very well understand that it becomes very essential to communicate the right things in the right manner. The mode in which you are communicating, the attitude with which you are communicating, the tone of your write-up, everything is caught. You will say that no one is speaking, how it will be understood. But it is through the choice of your words, the particular way in which you express yourself, everything is going to express the same. Now, as we know that it is a big document, it's a big writing skill thing. So few things that we have already talked about. You have all heard of the 7 C's of writing, that what are the different C's that we should do. So that we should be concise, we should take care of the content, it should be of proper authenticated, it should have the rightful quality, it should be brief, it should be to the point, it should be courteous in its approach, it should not sound rude while you write. So many things, that comes to our mind while we start writing. And as like any other written skill, You require to plan. So when you know what you are going to write, what is the purpose, and to whom you are going to cater. So each of these things, they are very, very important. Like say, for example, you are going to write an accident report. So you are going to put it in a newspaper. You are going to write a typical annual report of your firm. So that will be something like the production, how much sales had happened, what had been the effort in your marketing strategies, and blah, blah, so many things are related to it. So often you have seen that reports are not just a one-page document, they are often so big, they look like a book even. Many a times you will find the annual report in spiral binded, sometimes you find it's a binded book. So it's just like a book writing. So similarly, in your last session, you learned how you do citations, how you put different inferences, how you were connecting them, which style you were following, all these things. Why do you at all require to learn it for your report? Because your report, many a times when you write in details, turns into a book. So of course, that is not what exactly we will be knowing it all, but we will be learning to write a particular document, which is very, very much important for this purpose. So report writing has multiple purpose, not only to judge how much profit has been done, that it can be going through the different things required for throughout the time of the year. So of whatever has been done in the process. So everything can be checked by means of a rightful report. It also helps to solve problems, writing report helps you to sometimes modernize different details about improvements and upcoming plans even. So that is something which is very, very much required to know, and we should follow it accordingly. So till this much is understandable to all of you? Being able to understand, being able to follow me, everyone, till now?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, I think another good point would be reports are often written in the form of third person.
Yes, true. So that is there. So after this, we will be moving towards the significance. So till now, in this introduction part, whatever I have discussed, can any one of you tell me in your own words the crux of the last few slides with which I started? Anyone who is willing, in your own words. You need not mug up something, and you need not get into whatever you felt from my discussion. You can talk about a bit before I shift to a second subtopic. So this was all about simple reports. We will be getting into significance next. Yeah, Bhavna is also there.
Ma'am, I can try, but I don't think I will be able to cover your every point.
No, not an issue. That's not a challenge. It's just a discussion session, No one requires to be perfect, and no one is perfect at any point of time. So whatever you can keep in your mind, whatever you have, grasp out of these few minutes I talked about, you can talk by you. You're highly welcome. And I love that each one of you speak a bit. So then things will be engrafted in your head and heart. Right? Please go ahead.
Okay. Reports are the documents that tell us about the already happened events, and there are various kinds of reports, like, for example, business reports. For example, in educational institutions, there are students progress reports. So there are some, even you have we very often read accidental reports through newspapers and through other social media platforms. And reports are of many kinds. And although as I have already told, these are the documents that tell us about the already happened event. So it should be mostly written in third person, to make it more unbiased. Suppose if you write any report, if you write any kind of accidental report,
yes, please go ahead. Yes.
Okay. Suppose if you write any accidental report by starting such kind of lines like, I was going through that area and suddenly I saw that accident, 2 people are injured and two more were dead. Or suppose if you use such kind of lines, then the reader which will read your report, they will think like, no, you are maybe through these reports you are also expressing your own opinions. You are quite biased about this accident. Maybe you are not reporting the actual event. Suppose if you, for example, in accident report, if you start the lines by saying this, I was moving through that area and suddenly I saw I saw that some accidents were happened, and I talked with the people. The people told that the roads were not proper, and this is one of the major concerns, because that's why so many accidents are happening nowadays. So this will be, this will provide the authenticity. Like you talk with various people, we talk with authorities. So this will provide the authenticity in your report. And the last most important point that I would like to include in my speech is, speech will be, you should always take care of 7 C's while writing any report, and these are concise, clear, accurate, and these all 7 C's that we often often read in communication part. So you need to take care of the 7 C's while writing any kind of report. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, very good, very good. So at least I had been able to put certain ideas into your mind. That's fantastic. Okay, so now I will be shifting to the next subtopic. There is a significance, of report. So before we get into writing, everyone will ask, ma'am, why to learn this? What is the benefit? Why it is so important of a document? I understood it's important. It is like this, but why it is so important? What makes it so significant? So there are multiple reasons that we can, cite for the significance of report writing. First of all, we see that as an easy tool for making decision, So when there is performance done by the different employees in an organization, so there is the superior who judges the performance, right? So, with a report of what that particular individual or employee has done in certain, in sequence, certain events or certain different activities or programs, or maybe in certain agenda to be completed by them. So what their performance had been. So if there's a report of everything, from that one can highly derive. Even before you, as a boss, you want your subordinate to have his promotion, then also you have to send a report. So it is often the progression report, or sometimes it is like the performance report of that particular employee. So with that report in hand, that person agrees to it. So of course the immediate boss, he or she does that. And when it goes to the superior, even more superior for the final sanction, So that person totally depends on this report made by the superior of these employees, right? So that's why we always listen to our superiors. We are supposed to do the things that are supposed to be done. We should be accountable. We should be reporting rightly. We should be communicate properly. We should do our work not only properly, but we should also report the same on time. So reporting has got multiple purposes. So talking about that, it makes an easy tool for making decision. So as I said that in the modern world, huge companies need a large number of information. So one solution to manage this is to make reports, of course. So with the help of report writing, necessary judgments can be made in business. Report writing provides easy, updated, and helpful details in a document. So in this detail of why it is an easy tool for making decision, you can understand so well that the nitty-gritties of a report are of utmost importance. So if like you go and attend a seminar, a full day seminar, when you write the report, there has to be an introduction part, there has to be a conclusion part, and you can divide it into 3-4 subheads and go with the discussion topic and what all aspects have been discussed in that. That is one way of doing it. It is a big report. You have to go by the timelines. You have to talk, and while you write the report, the body of the report, you go by first half and then second half. If it is a 3-day workshop or seminar, you write that day 1 topic and you go by each topic. If it is possible for 3 days, you go day wise. If it is a week, then you go by major topics. If it is a month or 3 months thing, then also you go by major topic. So ultimately, at the end of the day, it helps to take decision. So this workshop, had it been useful, so you take feedback, you take not only feedback, but a report of the feedback is made. So report, you take feedback, fantastic. But those feedbacks, are to be made together and then amalgamated together, and then one has to come up with a synopsis of the same in the form of a report. So that makes you write a report. So thereby there are multiple, as you said, there is an FIR, there is a medical report, there is a newspaper report, there's a marks report. So report is a very brief and to the point thing coming up many a times in tables and figures as well, through which you get to know, and that helps you to know, what the crux of the matter is. So that without being there, being there all the while, some part of it you had been there, rest you couldn't do, but at the end of the day, you were able to decide on the basis of reports. Of course, as you rightly said, that it is only if it is authentic. So that is very, very much required. The next importance of report, why it is significant is often reports are analytical. As I said, that report is very important because whenever any issue occurs, a group of communities try to find the reason that issue and provide the whole scenario and results with or without the suggestion in the shape of report writing. So that's make it an analytical report. So there's a problem, I say. So maybe the workers are not listening to the supervisors. There's a problem in the industry. So, the manager wants to know the problem. So the manager didn't visit that particular place, or there's an accident that has happened. So he didn't visit that place. So the person who were assigned with the duty to visit there, come up with his or her idea and whatever they have seen, whatever they have observed, what problems they have come across, and then they can jot it down and can analyze the same. And by their own understanding ability, their own comprehension, their own knowledge and skill and experience and expertise, what they get to know there, that they write in the form of a report, and that becomes an analytical report. So that analytical report, by getting it at hand, one is able to analyze the major reason of a certain problem, or maybe how it is developed, how it can be taken care, how it can be solved, what are the different methods that can be applied. On the basis of this structure of the problem that has been observed and analyzed by the person, who has written that analytical report. So analysis is another important reason why we should know how to write a report. So report is significant because often it is analytical in nature. So there goes the second point of, the significance. Then it is also for evaluation. That also I said some evaluation of the progression has to be made. So, you have semester progress report, you have weekly progress report, you have yearly progress report. So all these things, they are basically to evaluate. There's the exam process going on, right? So how well it had been conducted, whatever had happened there. So one can do a proper evaluation of the entire thing. So how one has to do by getting into a totally detailed report of the total happening. So how the entire process went on. Some new thing has been introduced, maybe a policy. Now, what is the repercussion of that policy? So some benefit has been given to certain section of employees. Certain benefit has been made for all the employees. So whatever such administrative things are also given. So a tool new used, a new instrument in progress being used by people. So what are the benefits of the same? So in order to know that, we require to go through the report. In those reports, we find this reason that which makes it important. It helps us in evaluating things. So you can see here, as it is stated, that a company that is based on a large scale are involved in many different activities. So due to this reason, it is impossible for the management to keep an eye on everyone of what everybody is doing. As I said, so Visi ma'am, it is not possible for her to be everywhere. So she has to depend on report. Now, how well the reports are written, how much they are authentic. So that will, of course, help her to come to a more accurate decision. So more accurate evaluation. So everything will be dependent on the quality of the report written. And the first quality being, it should be accurate. There should not be no exaggeration. There should not be demeaning of certain facts that had happened. And there should not be some things which we should be, intentionally hidden, or any other reasons might be there for the same. But it should be an authentic, dependable report. That is why it is very, very important, So here you can see that it is not possible to keep an eye on everyone and what everyone is doing. So we require to depend on reports. Therefore, the management finds an easy way and writes a report to highlight the acts of every department. So evaluation process is there, and we find report as an integral part of it. That you do like this, it will get into report. You do like that, you get into report. So be careful of what you are doing, because everything will be there in the report. So that helps to the people who are dedicated or who are given with this responsibility to evaluate things. For them, it becomes a very, very important document. The next point is that of the quick score. So it is said that it is a fact that marketing managers, they require details in order to make a quick decision. In this case, sometimes a senior manager seems to be very busy, for many reasons. That's why it requires authentic sources to get information. And these types of sources can be a form of report writing even. So that will work as a quick source. Yes, you are able to evaluate, that's fine. You are able to do other things, it's good. That you are also able to check, that whether you can analyze the thing or not. If you're able to analyze, you put in the form of a report. If it's an easy tool for decision making, that's fine. So not only it's an easy tool, but it's also, a very quick source as well. So this quick source is something very, very much required. So immediately you want to take some action, and immediately you want to do something. So if you have a report handy in your hand, it will be always easier for you to go ahead with the immediate implementation of something that you are looking forward to do. So report can help you in that manner as well. So I hope I'm clear with these 4 points that I talked about. Is it clear to all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So just we can discuss a bit before we get into the other, reasons that why it is so significant. So I would like to hear from your own words. Can you say a few words about, the significance of report as an easy tool for decision making? How it is an easy tool for decision making? I will go like this. I will talk certain subtopics, and then I will be doing a recap of the same. I will be hearing from you, taking your feedback, and then going ahead. So that will.
Can I try?
Yeah.
Okay. I think reports are very important for evaluation. Suppose if there is a business firm and there are many employees who might be working there. So suppose a senior manager that you have already said he might be very busy, so he will not be he will not be able to evaluate each and every person who will be working in that company. So he will form a team, and who will give the annual report of all the employees that have worked in that financial year. So it will be very easy for him to make a give an appraisal or give a bonus to certain employees or fire certain employees who were not working throughout the financial year. So it is very important. And another example that I would like to give is through investigative reports. Like suppose there is a police team who is making reports on some serious crimes like murders and rape. And if they are not, they will not be able to provide a very authentic report to the court, and then the court because of the non-authentic report,
Yes.
even the criminals will quite easily get freedom through the court. So that's why reports are very important to give proper punishment to the criminals and to save the innocents from having any more suffering. Thank you.
Yes. So that is how, this analytical reports, they help, and it helps to take a decision easily, not only easily, but as well as quickly. It helps us to evaluate as well till times. Now, the next point that I'm going to discuss is that of improvement of skills, improvement of skill. So while you write yourself, so it helps you to understand the problem properly. It also helps you, to design it in the rightful manner, to make the proper judgments about the same, and then communicate it right. So therefore, these skills help you to improve your own self as well. So writing makes a man perfect, we all say, and that is very true. So when we write something, we usually try to learn better, we automatically grasp things better, and we can go ahead with that. So writing report not only is having these things, but it also helps us to improve our skills. Then it helps to explain facts. Yes, so that you mention that this has happened is not enough. That you also are able to understand why it happened, how it happened, who did it, what had been the cause behind it, how, or if there is a problem, then what is the reason of such a problem, what are the things that cause such a problem, and how you can really help, how you can provide with some solution to that problem. So that will also be easier for you if you are able to explain facts rightfully. And you are able to explain facts, if you are writing a report. So writing a report will help you to explain facts in a very clear and proper manner, so that the thing seems transparent that you were commenting on. So whatever you are writing at the end in conclusion, maybe as your suggestion, so that is how the report ends. But then you will be able to come to that conclusion or suggestion only when you are able to explain the facts rightfully. It is on the basis of those facts that you explain in the proper manner. On the basis of that only, you can come to a rightful conclusion. And you think that this event was really good, that particular program was a super success, and we should look forward for more. This academic session was good, that seminar was not that much good, the workshop had been too good. So whatever we finally comment, it is all based on the analysis and explanation of facts, how well you do it, and it helps you to take a decision, and also in an easier manner. Not only that, it helps you to take full control, like no matter the activities are fully achieved in accordance with the plan or not. So that is why in order to control such activities, it depends mainly on report writing. So you are able to take full control of the situation if you are writing the report rightfully. Fine, if it is not good, then of course you will not be able to do it in a proper manner. So you require to take full control only when you are taking care of the entire thing by writing a rightful and proper report with the pertinent language, and thereby expressing the same as and when it is required in the manual. It is also, an easy tool for managers. As I say, it helps you to easily take decision. It helps you to take the accurate decision, the rightful judgment. It helps you to take a faster decision. So it's a quick source, and it's a tool. That's a machinery, report is a machinery by which you can actually achieve your purpose. Because why you are taking a report at all? Why you are making someone write a report at all? Why you yourself is writing the report at all? At the end of the day, you should be able to communicate well as manager. You should be able to decide rightfully as manager. You should be effective as well. You should be a good decision maker as well. You should be a good evaluator. You should be generating your critical abilities. So thereby, your analysis should also be done in a rightful manner. So all these things, there are multiple factors, that makes a good manager. So the manager, if he wants to be effective and efficient, then he has to depend on the tool, and the tool is no other than that of this writing skill that we're talking about. That's the report. So you can understand how much importance it carries, that it should be learned in a proper manner. Otherwise, it becomes very difficult, for the people to really trust it and work on it, and then it should not impact it in a negative manner. The last significance that I would be talking about of report writing is that of it helps you to handle complex situation. The complex situation, I say, it can be a situation, a crisis, a kind of disaster. We do have disaster management, no? We do have crisis management. There is a lot of people who are actually in mutiny. They're revolting. They're not willing to work. Often we find it in factories and such industrial organizations. So often problems are there. Now, if the problem is reaching such a height that we should address that, we should go ahead, with some solution for the same. What we require to do, is to handle that complex situation. So to handle that complex situation, what we require is, we should be able to write the report rightfully, which is analyzing all these aspects, and then the person who will be reading your report will be able to handle that complex situation. So as you see that, to reiterate the same, it is, I have typically taken it as an excerpt and written it on the slide, that is saying that in an organization that is based on a large scale, there might always have a problem of labor, as I was talking about the factory issue, which may result in complex conditions. So in order to handle this situation, managers make a report. So until and unless, if you want to excel this, if you want to see that there is a problem which is not being addressed, I alone cannot handle that. So I want my superior's intervention. I want the apex management of the institution or organization to handle it, to get into it, to address this as an issue. So why or how we draw that attention, So we draw the attention so that the problem is solved. And how to draw that attention? Only with a very effective report, you can actually draw that attention. So handling complex situation is also a very, very plus point of report writing. So what we have to do is, going back to my earlier slide, I would like to reiterate here. See that significance is not a theoretical significance, that we are talking about again and again. Kindly understand that understanding of each one of these significant factors, when you keep in mind, you write the report keeping these factors in mind. That my writing should be concise, should be precise, effective, less words, more of effect. So it should be, therefore, an easy tool for decision making. My analytical abilities should be applied in a written form. My analysis that I put down to papers, which I put on the papers, should be in a manner that there's a rightful flow of thought, there's the right sequence, there is no incongruency of the logic that I use, and thereby I conclude something. So there should be the logical coherence that has to be taken care in case of a lengthy writing. And when I talk about report, it's a very, very authentic, serious, important document, and many things are dependent on it, and it should be 100% foolproof. To make it foolproof, we require to take care of these aspects and check. The report that I write, I check that, am I writing it in a precise manner that it becomes an easy tool? Is it having all the analytical things? If I am evaluating something, so am I talking about all the criteria within it, one by one, specifically, and then evaluating the same? Am I doing it or not? Or is it whether it is working as a quick source or not? So quick source is something that you give a glance and you get to know, okay, this was the thing. So your presentation of the report should also be such, that it should be understood by giving a glance. Of course, if one wants to know the details, we'll be reading the in-between lines. That goes without saying. But your report is a written presentation. Don't think that, man, we only give presentation. No, presentation is anything. It can be a verbal presentation. It can be a non-verbal presentation even. Even our eyes speak. Even our expressions speak. Even not speaking anything speaks so much. Don't we say in between lines? The pause speaks so much. So the presenting stylization is very important. That it should be neat and clean, presentable, written in perfect paragraphs with proper heads. The purpose of writing a particular paragraph, if you are introducing it, what the topic, what the issue, and then finally coming into conclusion, talking about the suggestion. So your suggestion will only follow the logical coherence of what you have talked in the report. So each one of them is of high importance. So it has to be understood in the rightful manner. Now you will also see that doing that, it will improve your skills. And while doing that, you will see that whether in the report you have explained the facts rightfully or not. Did you explain the facts properly? Did all of them were covered? Did you talk about all of them in exact terms? And of course, the way it happens, you won't write every lines for it. You write in a short manner, in a precise manner, in a concise way, in a brief and structured manner. So that thing has to be incorporated while you do use it. Professional improvements are very, very much related. So I said that promotions are on the basis of reports only. So finally, whether you have been sanctioned increments or not, on the basis of reports only. So you can understand the implication of writing a proper report is so much that there cannot be any compromise. So report is something on which people to see here. A very interesting example has been prepared. Like in case of professional improvements, you can see that, for example, in a company, if anyone is selected for promotion, so before this, so this is a typical case I was talking about. You have to make a report writing document in which you will write about the position, performance, satisfaction. Yes. So every job has got some requirements. So that is talked about in the job description letter. So according to the designation that you have to perform according to it. So your experience, your expertise, your ability, your capability, your faculty, whatever you say. So that is very much pertinent to the job you are doing, the designation that you hold. So it should be pertinent or not. So that's a performance satisfaction thing. So who is going to judge that? Of course, your superior. And then according to the performance that you do. Now, how that person jots it down and passes it on to the apex management for the sanction of a promotion that he or she wants for you is going to be completed only when the report is authentic and powerful enough to convince, and not by formulated stories, but by typical giving data and statistics and different figures that you put and to talk about it. So it has to be self-explanatory, and whatever you say, you won't say in a fictitious manner. Whatever you say, you must be able to abide by with certain logic norms behind it. So everything in the air, throwing something will not help. So that thing is very much required. So of course, your level of working with the help of make a report and submit it to the manager, so that promotion can be given to that particular person, fulfilling all the requirement areas. So when it's a case of promotion, you can understand how much touchy and sensitivities and how much it is bad, for a person who is deserving enough not to get because of a poor report. So a poor report can be according to the performance even, or maybe the person has performed very well, but at the end of the day, the presentation was not that authentic. So the apex management might not be convinced. So everywhere there should be data and statistics specifically, and you talk about it. So that is how it goes, and that is how you can take full control of the situation through reports as well. That is how it helps you as a good manager. If you have a good report at hand, you can really work on it, and also to handle complex situations. So these are, students, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Okay, something happened.
Yes, ma'am, you are audible. Jyoti ma'am, you are audible. Don't worry. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead, ma'am. Go ahead.
Okay, fine. So that is how it is. So till now, if you can, one or two of you can talk about two things that we are talking here. No, two points if you can discuss. Yes, at the beginning you talked about easy tool and analysis and evaluation. Now, if anyone can talk about quick score and this improvement of skill and explain facts. So I just make you simple questions. It will be easier for you to answer. So just tell me that how a good report can impact an evaluation, or how it can be projected by means of a report rather. Anyone can answer a few.
Ma'am, I think even if you talk about any part of the world, I think all good private organizations specifically, because in government organization hardly anyone sees the report of the performance of the employees. But I am talking about private institutions. I think all good private institutions evaluate the performance of their employees on the basis of reports only, because without the report, they will not be able to identify between the good employees or between the good employees and bad employees, and this will ultimately, cost the performance of the entire company on the, on the if you talk about the future. So I think it's very important for evaluation. And in fact, I think even if you talk about all good schools, if you talk about private schools, if you talk about DAB and DPS, they often give students reports to their parents so that they can evaluate in the on what area the students need improvement, and according to the reports only they can work on that particular area, and which will be very beneficial to the students. Thank you.
Okay, Nihal, that was good.
Ma'am.
Yes, Shivani, please go ahead.
Ma'am, I think evaluative reports are very important because they give us not only a feedback for the work that we do, but they also try to keep track of our progress. So when we are comparing the results of, let's say, for example, our first semester and second semester, we can see how much our SGPA or CGPA have increased, and we know what we're working towards. And like Nihal mentioned, nowadays even in government employees, they're also starting to maintain the evaluation report so that they know how much more they have been working each year, and ultimately it helps people do a form of self improvement and self introspection. So I think it's very important.
And what about quick score? What do you think about it? One by one, we'll be talking about each one of them. Someone else, if they can talk. Shivani, Radhika, Khushbu, Vania, some new speaker I would like to.
Ma'am, I just spoke.
Yeah, Shivani.
Ma'am,
Right. Bhavna, you are.
Yes,
Something,
ma'am.
please go ahead. Go ahead, please. Yes.
Ma'am, I would like to throw some light on quick source. Ma'am, for example, there are many big institutions, many big companies. They have to make quick decision. Ma'am, for example, if a senior manager or a general manager is very busy because there are thousands of things going on, and he has to take a very quick decision. That's where a report helps them to take a precise decision and a quick decision because the report is carrying a authentic information.
So that is all about quick score. And what about improvement of skill? I just show you the slide also side by side so that you can get your ideas and then just go through it a bit as well. So how it improves skills? Who can tell me that?
Ma'am, Khushbu this side. Ma'am,
Yeah.
improvement of skills contain many things like analysis, and we can communicate, and we can put light on the facts, and it's also a skill. And we learn through report writing many things, like how can we make decision.
And what about explanation of facts? Okay, one thing you can do in place of telling me one by one, you can write a bit, a paragraph maybe of 50, 60 words, of this significance of report writing. And can you use your chat box? I have got no idea. Can you do that?
Ma'am, we're not able to access it.
You cannot?
No, ma'am, I'm not able to access it. It says that it's disabled.
Okay. So can the chat be accessed? Okay, then do one thing. You write in the next, I give just 10 minutes. You write, and then as you finish writing, you can read out.
Ma'am, I think only the panelists can access the chat box. I think she has not been added on the list of panelists.
Okay, so who are there in panelists? How can I get to know?
Ma'am, you can look at the list of participants, and they will tell you who are the attendees and who are the panelists.
Yeah, there are panelists. I can see them. But 4 attendees, but there are 13 panelists I can see. So Bhavna, Khushbu, Khushi, Mania, Nihal, all are panelists, right? So you all can write. Nihal, isn't it so?
Yes, ma'am. We have proper access of chat box.
Okay, so please write in the chat box, and if you can, or you can write by your own and then raise your hand and tell me. The next 10 minutes, I will again get back. But before that, I would like to discuss a bit. Once you write something, you can read it out as well.
Ma'am, you asked us about the explanation of facts now.
Yes, significance of reports. That's it. That is what I discussed today, no, till now. So next, I will be talking about the types in my next presentation, the next another hour. But before I move on to that, I would write you people to be a little bit interactive and write a bit on the same. You can read it out as well once you are done with it. You can take 5-6 minutes to write, and then just by raising your hand, you can read them out. As simple as that.
Ma'am, I would like to throw some light on the part explanation of facts.
Yes,
Ma'am,
please.
according to me, as you have already discussed, reports are the one of the most important documents, and they should not be biased, and they should only talk about the actual facts and figures. Suppose if we start giving our own opinions and our own ideas on our report, then it will become a bit biased. So the their report, and if I'm going to give the present example of Indian news channel. We often read the reports of we often read the report. We often read the rankings given by different organizers about the media channels of present day India. So they often consider our media channels are often considered as a very low rankers, because you know what's happening today is almost all media channels are showing a
Yes.
biased reports. Some are showing the reports in favor of
It's a
government,
certain
and some are
vested
showing.
interest. See,
Yes,
absolutely
yes,
fantastic. Yes.
so that's why you know, because almost because media channels are our one of the most important sources of information, and if they will start showing biased reports, or if they will start working on the vested interest, obviously you know we the common people will suffer, because we will not be able to get authentic information. And that's why the different organizations of the world rank Indian media channels. They give Indian media channels a very low ranking. So I think that this is the area that should be looked on, and the media channels should understand the fact that you have told, like
Yes.
the reports should
So it's
be
very pertinent
only
point
be.
about the authenticity. And I talked about that it should be authentic, you know.
Yes,
Nihal,
thank you,
yes,
ma'am.
yes, it got muted. Yeah, Nihal, you are mute if you are still trying to speak.
Yes, ma'am. I was only saying the thing that you have discussed, like the report should always be based on facts and figures. And I think it is my own personal opinions that media channels should understand this fact. Like they should not be, you know, they should not have any kind of vested interest, and they should work on the interest of the common people, not on the interest of some any other sources. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, yes, that is true. So this is there, and as I said that there can be multiple vested interests working, right? So those vested interests will stop us from giving the authentic report. But at the end of the day, if we get into such things, then we will only be losing the purpose of the entire document. Yeah, Shivan, I can see a raised hand from yours.
Ma'am, I just wanted to say that right now newspapers are reducing in importance. So the whole culture of writing reports in newspaper is now being shifted into writing reports online. So when we see a report that is written in Times of India in the newspaper section as well as on their online website, we can see a vast difference, because newspapers are mostly read by an older generation, that is mostly by people above the age of 30-35. So the language that is used, the tone that is used is very different from the one that is used online, which is mostly accessed by teenagers. So it may be
Absolutely.
the same news, the same report, but the way of putting it out by the same journalist is completely different. So that was something I noticed, and though I find a little bit discrepancy in maybe the information that is conveyed on both the ends, I feel that the authenticity is more or less maintained. And obviously the same news that is there on the website, when it is coming to social media sites, it is being reduced to just keep the important sections. So there again we see a shift. So we see that the report is constantly evolving as more and more people are coming up with more and more news.
Yes, true. That's a problem that is there, and that is of course a difference that we do find in the category of the people to whom we cater when we talk about newspaper reports, while we talk about the internet blogs, or there are other sources of information that we do use, and where through whom we usually get different reports. So of course our intended audience to whom we are catering, keeping that in mind, we should take that kind of stylization of writing and throw off language. That is also a little bit different, and that is not exactly the same when we talk about the other medium of communication. So on the basis of that, we have to select a rightful mode in where we write report, and keeping that in mind, we can only write it in a proper manner.
Ma'am, also one more point.
Yeah,
Ma'am,
sure.
with independent journalists coming in, the face of reports is changing. Like earlier, like I said, there were only a few notable newspapers, and all the journalists wanted to work for them. So they all had a particular template that they used to follow. But with independent journalists and independent media houses and news houses coming up, the whole concept of reports is completely changing. Because earlier report was considered as something that is to be formal and should follow a particular template or a particular format. But the new journalists who have come in have found their own way of writing, and though some of it is very interesting and intriguing to read, some of it may be considered as cheap or vulgar. Like for example, the kind of reporting that a few media houses had done over Sushant Singh Rajput's death, it was very, what do you say, was very vulgar, in the sense that they gave no form of sensitivity or emotions was involved that they are reporting some person's murder or slash suicide. They were just very, what do you say, inconsiderate of the family and of the entire issue, and they were just finding for a way by which their TRPs increase. So what happens is that it all leaves a very negative impact of the whole idea of report and media houses in the minds of the viewers.
Yeah, that is very true. So while writing reports, by understanding these, we must keep in mind that how important it is for the report to be authentic, and it should serve this purpose. If it is unable to serve its purpose, then there is no point writing a report. So we should be very careful about it. Fine. So,
Ma'am, I want I want to ask a question from you.
yeah, sure. Go ahead, please. Yes.
Yeah, ma'am, I want to ask you about, can the reports be divided in the in two types, like serious reports and non-serious report? What's the one you
Yes,
are
if
talking
we call
about?
it formal, the same thing we call it formal and non-formal. That is informal report, right? When we talk about informal report, when we speak also, we talk in a casual manner, in a nutshell we say. But when we talk formally, we become a little bit more cautious. Similarly, when it is an informal report, we just write it down what there happened, and maybe you won't exaggerate. I'm not saying that there's a problem with your intention. There should not be any problem with the intention. Even if the intention is not right, we should try to keep it right. So just to make it a bestseller, just to make it, people attracted, what we call yellow journalism, isn't it? So reporting is something which is very, very much important. So that authenticity will be there only when there is integrity inside, when there is honesty, and when there are principles and, value system there. So that I am still taking it as something, like software that is programmed within you. But apart from that, we must see that in an informal report, it can be a little bit lenient, like every informal communication. But when it comes to a formal report, it should be exactly the best presentation in the proper format, catering to all the requirements, should be segmented writing with a rightful introduction, with a proper conclusion or suggestion, and which you come up to by means of a set of logically coherent paragraphs through which you express what had happened there in a very, in its true colors, I must say. And then you get finally into the conclusion or your suggestion, that is something happened like this, how it can be improved. If you had organized something, there can be a program, there can be, some kind of event, some kind of function, whatever it is. And there can be some disastrous situation, some accident. There you, of course, there you conclude, or you just say that what has happened. So that's it. But when there are events happening and you write a conclusion of the same in your report, so that turns into a suggestion. So you can suggest only when you criticize and analyze the problems rightfully.
Ma'am, I think, yeah, so then according to this definition, I think most oral reports should come under the informal reports, if not
here basically we are here we are in this webinar learning about reports. Specifically, we are trying to learn a business report, how an official report writing is done. Now, as I said, it is a big book with all its introduction, preface, purpose. It looks like a proposal, but it's not a proposal, but you write a detailed report, right? But when I will talk about the body part of the report. It's the main crux of the report. That can be from 1 to 15 pages even. But of course, here we will be doing a 2-3 pages report where there's a proper introduction, conclusion, and separate body paragraphs. And where you mention the date from which to which day you are talking about, what event it was, date, time, place, purpose, right? These are to be rightfully mentioned within the report. So you start it like our report on whatever the incident is. Date is this, time, venue, place, fine. And then the report in details you write, and then you start writing it. So as I said, if it is seminar, you can write 1-day seminar, you can write first half, second half, in between lunch. And then if it is a 2-3 day thing, then you can go day wise. If it is a 7-day thing, you can go topic wise. If it is a 15-day thing, you can talk about the major event that had happened in the workshop that had really helped you to learn something in a very practical manner. So that report, that main report we will be writing. And before we write that, actually we are going through the nitty-gritties. Am I clear, Nihal?
Ma'am, I was asking, should oral reports come under for informal report or no formal report?
No, there is nothing like that. Verbal report can also be formal, informal. Written report can also be formal, informal. Fine. So here we are learning about formal business reports. Verbal is fine. That a speaking class will get into it. Fine. But writing a report, written things are documented. So documentation is something that is having legal perspectives to each other. So we should be careful about what we are writing down. While saying, often we say anything and everything. But while we write it down, and that to a report on which people are depending, so it has to have its authenticity. Am I clear, Nihal?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. So now I move on to my next slide and I share the next. Just a sec. So now I am going ahead towards types of report. This I will be for sure finishing today, and tomorrow we will directly start about the structure of report. So I share once again, just a sec. So all of you can see this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this is finally the types of report that we are into. So you can see it so well going like this. Just try to change the slide. The slide is changing, right? It is moving. The slide is moving.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much. So you can see here that it is an informational work made with an intention to relay information or recounting certain events, in a very presentable manner. So reports are often conveyed in writing, speech, television, or film. So report is an administrative necessity. Why we are so much reiterating this? Report should be like this, it should be like that, we should take care, because it's an administrative tool, dears, that we should be very careful about it. So most official form of information or work is completed via report. So report is always written in a sequential manner in order of occurrence. So I said that you started with an introduction, you continued with the body paragraphs, and you ended with a suggestion or conclusion. That's fine. But whatever you want to conclude, whatever inference you want to draw from that event or happening, you can only come down to when you follow a proper logical coherence of the same. So you say X, it should follow Y, Y to Z, Z to A, B, C, some all the time, all the while, order, one particular order has to be followed. So that order is very much important in order to make your writing logically coherent one. And then only you can come to a suggestion or conclusion at the end of your report. So of course, to conclude a report is an art, how you end it up, how you, come up with the rightful suggestion, how you show a head-up path to come out of the problem that you have talked about in the report. Whatever analysis, whatever critical writing or critical analysis you have done about that particular happening will be possible only when you write an impactful report with the most effective communication. Fine. So moving on to the types of report. So here you can see, as I was talking to Nihal just a few minutes back, I was saying informal report, formal report. Of course, Whatever you do informally, you just convey it, and you won't take care of the etiquettes, you won't take care of the formalities rather. So with our friends and near and dear ones, we are not that formal, no need of it even. But when we talk in a formal environment to known unknown people with some purpose of business, and we are there either as an employee or an attendee or some way we are related in some business concern, business means it is not only earning money. You are students, you are studying in Amity, so whatever communication you do with your professors is nothing but a business communication. So similarly, the way we talk to our students, the way we convey them, it's all business communication. But of course, from this typical, formality, we develop informal relations as well. Some students are there in our heart for throughout the life. They meet us outside, we talk to them. Some teachers are also there in our own lives even. So that is something else. But then, of course, everything has two aspects of it. One is a formal way of documentation and the informal way of documentation. Now, formal is the one that we are more concerned about because the structures and the norms are to be followed there. But when we talk about the informal one, that is the simple one that comes to our mind at the beginning. So only after knowing the informal one, we can go ahead with the informal category. So the informal report, function to inform, analyze, recommend something, someone, somebody to something. So it usually takes the form of a memo, letter or a very short international document, like a monthly financial receipt. That's very interesting. So the pace in which we actually communicate, like reports can be annual reports, can be biannual reports, can be quarterly report, can be weekly report, can be monthly report, can be twice in in 15 days, fortnightly report, whatever it might happen. So within a specific interval, because see, these reports that you are sending, if there's no continuity of the report, then finally, if you want to analyze something, if you want to come across through it and get some judgment, or if you want to evaluate something, it will never be possible, if you are not following the sequence and the frequency in which you should write them. So you have to be regular, and you have to be particular about your regularity of putting it at the right time at the right place. So this report differs from the formal report in length and formality. Of course, it will be a shorter one and it will be less formal, as simple as that. It is written according to organization style and rules, right? But usually does not include the preliminary front and supplement back material. So you just share the crux of the happening. You won't put much of, beginning, title page, header, this and that, and end. You put so many things, the sequence, the citations, so many things you usually might not put there. There you put the main thing, the main document, and you are done. So that's how your informal report goes. But when it comes to a formal report, you have to put everything in the rightful place. So the informal report is usually more controversial since it cannot block those areas of confusion, since it talks less, it doesn't talk about the background, it doesn't talk about the after effects, it doesn't talk about the proper beginning and the proper end, only the body. So therefore, people often are not convinced by it. Many cases, they always have a kind of, kind of questioning it, like that they're not happy with that. They suspect something might be there, and they keep on not having that kind of trust onto them. So that is how it happens when it comes to informal report. Thereby, while reporting, we should follow the total formality as and when, required in a particular organization. So therefore, the informal report is usually more controversial in tone, because since you are very much trust and there's no beginning end and there's no much addition and alterations to it, you just talk about the body. So sometimes people want to know the background and the backdrop of the same. So that is not there. And typically deals with everyday problems and issues addressed to a narrow readership. Yes, this is very important. Why an informal report is an informal one? You will tell me, ma'am, if it is not authentic, if it is not fulfilling the rightful things which are supposed to be provided by a written document, and that is incomplete in terms of an informal report, then why to write that? Write that because it is within a definite periphery. It is much more in a narrower environment. the boundary is narrow. The people to whom you catered your informal report, they're less and near to you. While in case of formal report, they're more, there's a bigger boundary, and they are not your relatives and your, friends. They are even people beyond that. And maybe they are connected to you, maybe they are unanimous signature. You don't know them simply. So in that reason, so you cannot write informal report in those cases, while you are bound to write formal reports only. But of course, this is what is there with informal reports. So a progress report at times, the school progress report can be a sales activity report. You just submit to your departmental head. So it is an intra-departmental communication, right? So you need not be very, very formal, fine. Personal evaluation. So there's a personal evaluation, means a person is designated a particular post, so that is evaluated within a particular department job. The financial report that you talk about, yes, it is being handled there in a particular finance department. The feasibility report of a particular work, literature review, credit report, but usually these are informal types. At times you can write them formally as well. But formal reports are the one where you have to maintain all the strictures in the rightful manner. So in informal report, any queries that you do have, you can ask. Anything, anyone? Any of these points that I've talked about, if you have anything to share, or you have got some confusion or any questions or any doubts, please ask before I move to the formal one. Because gradually we are moving to that part of the story where we have to follow norms, system, and styles very, very carefully. And then only we'll be able to produce a rightful report. So now,
Ma'am, I think literature review report should be considered under formal reports, because literature review is something like it's one of the most important source of information. So I think this literature review part, it should be considered under formal report according to me, because future researchers are going to see this information, and if it will be written in the informal type, then then the authenticity of its report will be questioned. Thank you, ma'am.
yes, I got your point, but I tell you usually why we call it informal. Because see, when you write this literature review thing, you just write about particular books, your own understanding, and you just put it in a list form and you put there. So there is no, kind of direct communication. And when we talk about literature, it has multiple perspectives. The perspective with which you see might not be seen by another person. That person might have another kind of perspective too. So perspective varies. So there is, nothing like red is red. Red is red, fine, but it can be in multiple tints. Getting it? So we call it informal. But when we talk about formal reports, we talk about technical reports, as one of you mentioned, FIR. Fine, it's a formal, highly formal report. It will go by data and statistics. It will go by incidents. It will go by dates, time, place, actions done, and proofs of the same. You cannot just write a story in FIR, right? We see that people go and make it a story, but they also provide proper proofs to it. So that is what, that makes it different than that of a formal report. So thereby, you cannot call this literature review all the while very formal report. I hope I had been able to answer your questions. Nihal, did you get my point?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any other questions, please? I'll be happy to answer.
Because I think the point that you are raising, like literature review can be considered under informal reports also. Suppose if you are reviewing some literature to to a 10th class student or to a 8th class student. Suppose you are talking about Shakespeare to a 10th class student, to 8th class student. So what will you say? You will simply describe it in a story form. So obviously this thing will be considered under informal. Suppose if suppose you have
even for academic purpose, Nihal, you can call it a little bit informal, of course. It is informally actually. Why I say? Because see, you just talk about it, your perspective. You have read something and you give your viewpoint to it and what you found in the book. So that's your way of, you just share some information of the story, but then rest of the thing is your perspective. So perspectives cannot be in absolute terms. try to understand. The difference between literature and technical writing is, it is something that nourishes us within. So that's very, that is aesthetics, fine. So it is not all the while related to facts and figures. Am I right or not? Are you getting my point?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Yes. But when it is technical writing, there is a black means black, a red means red. A red means is a crimson, a bloodshot red. I'm not talking about anything else. Although I gave you a typical language expression only, which you will find very much like literature, but then what I'm trying to say, understand, when you talk about facts and figures, they are in absolute terms. When you talk about perceptions, they vary from person to person. Are you getting my point?
Yes,
So, hello, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Okay. So, therein lies the difference. So, could you understand why it is called informal report?
Yes, ma'am, I got your point. Thank you.
Okay. So, any other questions, anyone? Or I move to the formal one? That is the cross point that we require to discuss. So, let us move to formal reports. Yes, the formal report is the collection and interpretation of data and information. So information is information. It's very, very much data-based, statistics-based. So figures, facts and figures, right? The formal report is complex and used at an official level. And the implications are severe, I must add here something. So implications are quote unquote severe, please understand. So it is often a written account of major project. Examples of subject matter include new technologies, the advisability of launching a new project line, results of a study or experiment, which are very specific. You cannot change it and it will not give different perspectives. X is X only. X cannot be X squared. Fine. So an annual report or a year-old review of developments in the field. So it has got huge implications. It has got lot many data statistics. It's got lot many facts and figures, and so many diagrams, this and that we add to it, and thereby make a formula. Why? Because if we state something in a report, that has to be authenticated and supported by facts and figures. I cannot say anything in the air. So did it happen like that? My perception. Okay, that has got no use. Zero implication of that report, which is based on only single perception. So you have to go by data statistics and you have to talk about it. You have to authenticate what you have said. You have to put citations, right? Your man has taught you citations. So their citation, what is the use? You cite because you say this is this. Now, this is not only what I am saying, people has also said. So who are the ones? You cite things. Or you cite a particular figure, you cite a particular, kind of statistical data, some graph, some pie chart, some bar graph. So that is there to authenticate your formal report. So that's the purpose of a formal report, right? So the format of a formal report is something very, very important. So finally, when I will be continuing the next class next day, we will be working on this format of the report, structure of the report, and finally the crux of the report. So the crux of the report is a typical report that you do write for your examination, but at the end of the day, writing report is very, very practical. So until and unless we write a total report, we will never learn only by theory. So we will have that exercise at the end of this, 2 sessions at the final day of my final day, what I mean to say is in the last section. But before that, we have to know all those things so that you won't miss a single point. So moving on to the format for report writing. And of course, we are talking about a business report, a professional report, and a typical formal report. So as I said, there's a title page. So you write it. So you do submit your project. No. So like that, it has a title page. You have acknowledgements because of course, when you try to write a report, you cannot write single-handed. You must have visited a site, you must have observed something, you must have asked people questions, the people who were able and efficient enough to answer you and help you out. And on the basis of those ideas and opinions, apart from whatever you saw there on the spot, you wrote your report. So you should be thankful to them. So that is what you put in your acknowledgement part, right? So contents page is there. So you put the contents, and then there is the abstract. Finally, what you were trying to put, your main idea in few lines will let people know that what the entire report is all about. So the abstract of a writing is just like the subject line of a letter. It helps you to understand that what's the purpose of this particular document, or why this document has been prepared. So abstract is there. Now see this part, this main part, that is introduction, body, and conclusion. So introduction, there is that, as I talked about, introduction, you introduce your issue. So you wrote a report on, and then you wrote in, say something happened, and a report on, marketing report on, or the budget report, an annual report on financial year, this. So whatever you write on that title, fine. After that, you get into the nitty-gritty part. So you have to introduce that what this annual budget is all about, say, for example, and then what are the different aspects you talk about in the body, and then finally you conclude with finally the things that you have selected. And making such a thing, it is not always a 2-page thing. So it is often, maybe it can be a 100-page report even, you never know. So you actually require to have this kind of format to be followed while you write a report, and then references are to be there. As I said, that where from you have withdrawn this, where from you have connected this, where from you have put this. So you cannot talk about them without putting the rightful references. And it will come into plagiarism, if you use things and you won't acknowledge that they have been taken from other people or from authentic journals, certain papers, certain things, some other booklets, some kind of any other prospectus, or maybe whatever. So from wherever you pick up, you must be able to show there. And that is the purpose of reference. So this is more or less, the format for a typical formal report. So I go back to one of my formal slides, and this typical one. Now, formal report types, right? That we should know. Now, there are reports, which are there to pass on information. So they are informational reports. There are analytical reports I talked about just at the beginning of my presentation. Yes, you require to analyze things, and you put in the form of reports. And there is also the recommendation report, right? Like you recommend a person for a particular job. So letter of recommendation you can write. So why you were recommending. So these are very petty things. So there you usually won't write a report. But then if you're recommending something for your industry or your factory or maybe your institution or organization, then you should be writing a report on why do you think exactly that this thing is recommended. So you state the problem, you talk about the nitty-gritties of the problem, the issues that are raised from the problem, and how they can curb, what is the utility of curbing them, and how it can be cured out of it. So how the situation can be helped with a proper cure. All these things you will be able to do with a recommendation report. And then finally you recommend something. So at the end you write recommendation and you end it up there. So recommendation report is a highly formal report, analytical report is a highly formal report, and informational report is equally very typical report, which has got, the purpose of sharing information and talking about a particular happening, how, where, when, who did it, and all those things related to it, and how it can, impact the entire thing. And then you finally, when you conclude such a report, then again, as I say, that your logical coherence that you must have followed in all the paragraphs that you have written, so that has to be checked, and that has to be there. There must not be the kind of incongruity in terms of language, that you are using, that you are saying something here and then you are unable to connect it. Connecting paragraphs, yes, one more thing, because this is a lengthy writer. So one more important thing of your writing skill, of a lengthy writing skill, is there should be proper connectors from one paragraph to another. So there should be connection between them, right? So if I say something here, if I talk about the problem here, I talk about the issues that are created out of the problem, that I must talk about that, that should be coming up with certain remedies, or it has got these negative effects. And finally, I talk about the remedies. And finally, I talk about that when these remedies are applied and they're going to be nice, then what will be the impact. So in the similar manner, a report should have each paragraph connected to one another, finally coming to the conclusion, what you want to indicate in that report. Fine. So ending up a report is of equal importance as you started the report, and all these things are to be taken care when we write a report, right? So am I clear with the formal report?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Anyone can come up with a nutshell of what a formal report is all about, because this now onwards it is going to be very, very relevant for you. So the earlier things were backdrop, reasons, fine. Now we are gradually getting into the crux. So once this is understood, how much carefully we should write a report, and what are the things typically while writing a report we should be taking care of. So yes, my question goes then, what is a formal report then? In your own words, understanding whatever you have heard from me, whatever I have shared with you, if you can share with me. And I would like to see, apart from Nihal, others also participate. It's only Nihal, Nihal, Nihal. Nihal is very good, is always ready. But there are so many participants. Anyone can speak out, right? So Nihal, you can just lead and then others will follow.
Okay, ma'am, whatever I have understood, I think the basic difference between formal and informal report is, in informal reports, we do have some liberties. Like while making an informal report, we can include or exclude some names or some events according to our own convenience. We have that kind of liberty while making an informal report. But while making a formal report, we don't have that kind of liberty. We have to include each and every detail, no matter how small or how big that detail is. For example, I will give you the example of the reports, the investigative reports. Like for example, you often hear like the charge sheet report was submitted in a total in total 30 pages or 40 pages. Even if I will give you example from my own state, Bihar, like the fodder scheme, the report which was provided by the cops about the fodder scheme, that the total reports consist of more than 1,000 pages. So while making such kind of comprehensive report, they have to include every detail, no matter how small or how big it is. Like for example, they have to include time, date, any specific place, everything. So we often notice that the formal reports are often big in size and informal reports are comparatively small. That's what I think. Thank you, ma'am.
Smaller inside, right? Yeah, you're mute, beta. Okay. So Nihal, you were speaking something, and now you are mute, I can see. Okay, then others, please give it a try. I can see. Yeah, Nihal, you are done, right?
Ma'am, I'm done. That's what I wanted to say.
In between, you became mute by chance.
Yes, yeah, there is some network, or even sometimes even your voice crumble.
Yes.
There is some network problem.
Okay, no problem. Oh, no problem. So next, someone else I would love to hear from. Shivani, Kushbu, others please. Shivangi Sharma, Radhika Sharma, Vibhuti Jain, Bhumika Garg, Manya Sharma. Try out, beta, whatever I shared. Renuka Shahu. No one else, or no one is willing to speak. So now again, do one thing. I give you 5-7 minutes. Write down a paragraph on both kinds of report. Fine. These types of report, write a paragraph on the types of report, talking about formal and informal reports both. But of course, when you write that, first you write informal and then you write formal. And once you are done with it, raise your hand and then you read out. Okay. Nihal, is that fine? Could you follow me?
Yes, ma'am, definitely.
Yeah, please. I just wait for the next 5-7 minutes for the same. And then as you finish, you just raise your hand, so that you can read out and we can discuss on the same. And little bit of writing exercise will always be beneficial for you, because paragraph writing is a good habit, because only 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 paragraphs will make your report. So the more better you are a paragraph writer, the more convincing and effective writer you are, your communication will be that strong. And that effectivity is going to no doubt help you in your report writing. So very relevant exercise. At the same time, the points to be kept in mind will be there with you forever. So once you listen, you read, you write, and then you speak.
Ma'am, I have written something in chat box. You can.
Okay, let us try. Let me see if I can just see that. Now, just give me a few moments and try now.
And I would also like to apologize to Kushbu, because instead of making the setting to all panelists and attendees, I just sent the entire, I just sent the entire report to the direct message to Kushbu.
Okay, so can you change it now?
Yes, I have already changed the settings, and if you are not able to see it, I can I can post it again.
Okay, so do one thing. I can't see it as of now. You just read it out better. Fine, read it out to me. I will just listen, and then we can discuss on the same.
Okay. Formal reports are very important in our day-to-day life, as it helps us to know about the events which are happening around us, and sometimes we also act according to these reports only. For example, you can take the example of current pandemic. We acted as per the reports provided by various channels in order to save ourselves. Even we can make our own even we can make our own self-evaluation monthly or weekly report to make improvements in our life, and it will make our life more productive, as it's often said that we are the best judge when it comes to evaluate ourselves in different aspects of our life. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. So anything else that any one of you would love to add? But even if they want to add, you are saying they are unable to because they cannot speak, right? So fine then what I will discuss next day, I'm just giving you a brief overview of the same. So I hope these topics are clear to you with the significance and the types of report. Next day we will do the structure of the report, and of course the entire structure will start from introduction till conclusion, and then a typical writing exercise of the same, the total complete report. Of course not like this. Fine. So just give me 2 minutes. I reshare something, a new slide, and the topic from the next day, and then we can talk about the same, which will give you no doubt an idea very much pertaining to report only. And that is a very lengthy slide, so that will help us to continue with the rest of the report next day. So we will be able to connect also if I leave something doing that, and then by recapitulating the same the next day, right? So just give me 2 minutes. I unshare and then reshare. Yes, I can see something in chat. Just a sec before I share. See if I can read that, right? Yes, I can see your chat. Nihal. Formal reports are very important in day-to-day life, as it helps us to know about the events which are happening around us, and sometimes we also act accordingly to these reports. Only for example, you have said, you can take the example of current pandemic. We acted as per the records provided by various channels in order to save ourselves, right? Even we can make our own self evaluation and monthly and weekly report to make improvements in our life, and it will make our life more productive, as it's often said that we are the best judge when it comes to evaluate ourselves in different ways. Very good one, good endeavor. I hope others can also write at least. Can they, Nihal?
I don't know, ma'am, because I think apart from me, most of the students are from your university only. So they are
Okay,
your
you are
own
from which
students.
university? All the while I thought you were from Amity. You were not from Amity?
No, ma'am. I'm research scholar in Patna University, and I'm also working as an ad hoc lecturer in Government Polytechnic College, Gaya.
Wow, that's very nice. So nice. Welcome to the virtual sphere of Amity at least. Okay, so I unshare and reshare once again. Just a sec. Now I'm ready for that. Okay, so all can see, I hope.
Yes, ma'am, it is visible.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes.
it is.
So a bit, a bit foreseeing the topic that I would be carrying out next day. Just I will be do a recap of some part of it, and that will help you to connect both all these three different topics. Starting from that of the significance and the types, and then moving on to the structure. All the while doing so, I have talked about the not only the importance and types, but also the style, the language, that how the throw, and according to the purpose that you are going to write report. So we will be following each one of them. So moving on to now, as I said, that already we are into the center and we are getting into the more technical parts of a report. So thereby we have to go ahead and proceed with the structure of a report the next day that we are going to do. And in this structure, as I said, that a report can not only be a small one, or maybe a 2-3 pages one, or a short one, or a very short one, and even a very lengthy one. So according to the purpose, we have to decide on the length, and the length will be likewise. And if it is lengthy, then the structure has to be maintained in a very proper manner. So the slide is moving, I hope. So see, when we talk about the report writing, it offers a document. So we are very much used to this prospectus of a college, prospectus of a particular institution. So it is nothing, but it gives a very brief and pictorial report of what all divisions that institution is having and what all works they do perform. So these are the ones in which we get quite a good complete format of a report. A report that I said is not a short one, but the one which is like, a big book. So the annual report of different industries or different companies you might have come across, which actually shows and gives the different segments in which the report is written. So it's of utmost importance. So when we will be doing that, our agenda will be, like introduction of the same. So a book always has an introduction part, that effective report writing itself. So we talked about today, you will see the types of the report, the third subtopic being the structure of the report, which we have already discussed, but we will be getting into the nitty-gritty of the same. Fine. Now, features of report writing. When we write a report, what are the different features that we should maintain and that should be properly followed in order to make the writing very effective one? Right. So the language, the poise, the manner in which you express, the number of paragraphs that you include. So it is not in every report you are going to write 12 paragraphs or 6-7 paragraphs. Again, not every or any report you are going to write 2-3 paragraphs. So it is all, you will say, ma'am, what is the basis of thinking like that? So I must say that it is on the basis of your purpose, because communication is meant for purpose. A business communication is very much purpose oriented. That's the basics of business communication. And we must keep in mind that what is the purpose for which you are writing this particular report, to whom it will be catered to, who is going to be our intended audience, who is going to read this out, and what is the purpose and why that person should read, why those people will read, what is their agenda in mind to read this report. So keeping all those things in mind, we should introduce the topic, put it in the platter, and we should be effective the manner in which we speak about them. So effectivity is something of much importance, and we simply cannot neglect it. So any business writing should have that purpose and that poise of presentation. So that is very, very important. You will say, ma'am, while we write, how you understand that? Yes, the different the different punctuations that you use, the manner in which you, the person in which you speak, whether it is in active voice, passive voice. I said you are bound to write in passive voice only. So immediately you see the shift of the importance is there, that from the doer it went to that of the work done. So naturally you can understand that what happened in is more important that who had done the work. As simple as that. So planning, yes, I must say planning is a very important thing, because I say that if you are an organized writer, you should plan your writer. So planning is the most important part of pre-writing phase. Yes, here I would also like to cover, excuse me, like what are the different phases of writing. There is obviously a pre-writing phase, and there is a writing phase, and there's a post-writing phase, right? So in a pre-writing phase, that is the planning and structuring phase. In that phase, you plan what you are going to write, or whatever you are going to write, how you are going to put it into the platter, how you are going to segregate, how you are putting it into place. So keeping all those things in the rightful manner, you do plan the thing. So that becomes of utmost importance. So planning is the one that works in the pre-stage, that is the pre-writing stage, and then you get into the writing itself, while you write, where you maintain these 7 C's, whether they're followed or not, and those things, and which you maintain likewise. So that the planning part will work at the before stage. In between, you are going to write it. While you write, you never can write a big write-up in one go. It is not at all expected of you even. So you write it, you edit it, you write it, you edit it, and it goes again and again. So first edition, second edition, third edition, we keep on doing that. So once you are able to do that, then of course your write-up will come up with much more better effectivity, and it will be much more, presentable, and it will serve the purpose even more. So that is the second phase of writing, the main crux of writing purpose. And the last phase is the post-writing stage. The last stage is the post-writing stage, means your writing is over. So what to do next? Yes, you have to revise your write-up. You have to see it, reread it, and see if there is any loopholes while writing, if there had been any problem while writing. And while you do that, you can give something a rethought even, and you can edit those important parts, that we will be able to. So there, how will your planning will be worked, and we will be talking about some common mistakes as well. Often we do in report writing, and we think, so a prospectus is a typical example that we will be taking, but we will just be having a look through it. And then the importance of writing report, which we have already discussed. And finally, how you end up the conclusion. So these are the things. So I gave you a glimpse of the subtopics that I will be covering under structure of writing and conclusion, and of course the full form of the report writing the next day. So I hope, ma'am, with this for today, I can little bit end it up here.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, Dr. Jayati Bhattacharya, for helping our students understand the nuances of report writing. And dear students, you need to take these lectures, these workshops, which are going to happen in next 3 days, that is over the next 3 days of the week, because you also have to attempt, also have to give your assessment test. So just like you had a pre-assessment now, after the workshops will get over, you will be expected to, write your assessment as well. So on which basis we will be we will be, acknowledging your understanding, and we will be awarding you with e-certificates. So for that, you need to listen to ma'am very, very carefully. Today, she has, initiated you towards what is a report, significance of report. And ma'am, please correct me. You will be taking the next session now on Monday.
Yeah, ma'am. On Monday, it will be structure, and then there will be a complete final exercise of writing report itself. Right, because more or less we have covered, but then for the students to write it in a full form, we will be doing a bit brush up of the structure and the nuances of the same once again. And of course, they're a little bit intricate for them in this situation. Once it is done, then they will be going for a complete exercise of the same.
Right, ma'am. Right, ma'am. So, dear students, you need to take these workshops very seriously, as ma'am has just told you. And we hope to see you on Monday, same time, 2 to 4. Okay, and listen to ma'am very carefully, because report writing is something which is mandatory for engineers, for any profession. When I say yes to all. So it is relevant to all of you. So please, connect. You please attend this workshop, which is slated for you this Monday, same time, 2 to 4. So with that, ma'am, I am grateful to you for, sparing your precious time in talking to our students. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much, everyone. It was a very nice audience who had always participated. Thank you so much.